We are live.
We are live. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast hosted by Northern Nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And I'm the other host, Paul. And we are joined tonight by very special guests in the Nerdy Up North podcast. We have the returning Donna, who's looking very She-Hulk-ish with the gradients, that's why I was a little bit late putting together. And we have technically first timers with us, so we are popping cherries tonight. In
One of those nights.
Yes, the wonderful Beth, who graces us with her chat and keeps Goodwill's busy most days with her moderations. She loves to tell him to fuck off, which is always a good start. And we have the fabulous Graham, who you might remember from the community podcast episode where he told wonderful stories and mentioned Margaret Thatcher's funeral a lot. So yes.
It's a staple. Why am I in piss yellow? I look like the second Crow film.
Fantastic.
I could try and make it more spooky, so it was just the colour
It's
that.
pretty spooky. I think it's like frightening.
Well, like super close to the screen. How much did you zoom in?
Okay, I'll move that. Okay.
There. Sorry, it was hard to put together with the new layout and new looks. We've not had this many people on, so technical issues out the way as per usual. So yes, and as with per usual, when we do have new people who join us, we do like them to tell us a little bit about themselves. So we'll let Graham start. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you normally get up to.
Oh wow. It's a big. Yeah, there's a load of stuff. Basically, I'm a musician called Synoiz, Synoiz, but I haven't released anything in ages because I never finish anything. And I'm also a Twitch streamer under that same name. I'm also a drag queen called The Velvet Snatch, who performs around the Northeast and whatnot. So follow me on Instagram and stuff like that. I'm just a massive nerd, and it's really wonderful in the Nerdy Up North community being like, oh, there's loads of people like me who have all this random bollocks knowledge about stuff. Like literally, meet loads of people a night, and I can't remember any of their names. And I'm like, but I can remember this one specific episode of Buffy and everything that happens in it. And you're like, okay, thanks, brain.
And
that's me.
And that is the wonderful thing about the Nerdy Up North community. We accept all and we don't try and judge as well. So anyone can share what they love and share what they kind of are passionate about as well. So there's loads, as you said, there's loads I've learned from being it, and how probably the biggest thing is patience.
And a lot of it.
Especially after Americans think daylight savings time is only to them.
Yes.
Fuck off.
Or British summertime, or,
Yeah. Also, and we have the fabulous Beth. So Beth, tell us a little bit about yourself there.
I'm Beth. I love dogs. This is Nova.
I know.
You're the ones over there who's just staring at me like I'm a weirdo. It's quite creepy the way he stares at you. I have a condition called NF1. I love all things Marvel, and I'm a massive Harry Potter fan.
Certainly. And you do have celebrity friends as well. I do see you messaging on Instagram quite a lot as well. Do you want to give a shout out to your celebrity friend?
Danny Minogue, and Danny follows us, Carly doesn't, but yeah, Danny Minogue. They're always messaging us and stuff.
Cool.
She's lovely.
Sweet.
Just lovely.
Yes. So I thought I'd give that shout out as well. But yes, we are joined by these lovely guests tonight for our special Halloween episode. That's why we are all, being spooky and looking a bit creepy. Well, creepier, shall we say?
Or like a minion in my case.
I will promise I'll change the colour. Just give us a second. But yes.
Love it. Leave it. It looks great.
We'll have a vote.
How do you want to be represented on this podcast? I'm not covered in piss, really. That's a goal, really.
It's a staple. It is a staple. So this is our Halloween special, and with tradition, we always try and get as many people on it as possible and talk about something as random. Last year we did the whole all the way through horrors, genre, what's changed and what we like about it. This year we thought we'd do it a bit different and talk a little bit about ghosts, because we did have one on last year with the two Kellys, which I enjoyed thoroughly hearing like other people's ghost stories. What I want to put out as well is that I know Sammy will do a disclaimer, but we're not going to be like, we might joke on and we might think we're not putting down anyone's beliefs. We know people do have strong beliefs when it comes to like this type of thing. We are not mocking them. We are not taking the piss. We do like say care about people's beliefs and so on. And again, that's what if it's something that you want to believe in, we won't ever knock it. But we will have a laugh on this one as well.
Yes.
But we'll let Sammy get a disclaimer out the way there.
Okie dokie. So everything discussed in tonight's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you want to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us in the Facebook group where we can have an open discussion. What we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom, so let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism.
Yes. Well done. Like I said, and that was said on the BBC, even though the BBC
It
doesn't
was
want us
on
to
the
do
BBC.
do episodes on BBC stuff, but still, I'm not bitter or anything. But we do have a few announcements as well. Quite exciting things. We are in the process of putting together an actual Patreon. Did I say it right? Patreon for the Nerdy Up North podcast and community, where we are going to be putting extra content where won't be on YouTube or live, so we will be filming extra things. There'll be things that like you can download, like screensavers for your phone, screensavers for your computers, and even like say you might even get extra content from the lovely Donna. Like say if I've heard she's offering cakes and goodies, we'll see.
I thought Donna's speciality was cookies.
Cookies, yes, but
Charlotte's got the cakes.
Charlotte's got the cakes and Charlotte's feet. But yes. We have been playing about and testing about. That's why on the bottom of the podcast now you can see us thanking two of our first patrons, Goodwill and Nicole. They're the ones who are doing the guinea pig work test and see what works and what doesn't work today.
Yeah.
So, but yes, that is going to be something that we are hoping to launch relatively soon or possibly in the new year. So yes, I'll get that out of the way. Get the plugs. So yes, ghost stories and ghost tales. Now, I think we were having a little discussion before we came on. There is, like, say, a lot of different ghost stories, or people have different experiences, shall we say? Is that the best way to put it?
Yeah.
And the representation in the media and the film industry as well, for a long time, wasn't really taken too seriously. I think it was, like, say, a bit of a joke at times. But I know recently there's been a lot of more movies, a lot of more actual TV shows that actually are a little bit more scary for the horror tale, like especially with like the Netflix shows, like the Haunting of Hill House, the Haunting of Blythe Manor coming out over the last 2 years. They've firmly put like ghost tales or spooky stories, shall we say, firmly back on the map. Like I said, that's been, like, I think a big positive in this type of element as well. And I have to admit, I have got a soft spot ever since we watched Ghost Watch, even though we're not allowed to talk about Ghost Watch.
I'm sure we can talk about it, we just can't show it.
Can't show it, possibly. As a kid, I've always liked them type of shows, and especially like Most Haunted. Like, it used to be a Halloween tradition in my house where we would watch the Most Haunted live, and not take it as serious as some people, because you used to get some people who watch that show and go absolutely nuts, which was always hilarious. But I would like to know like your guys' takes on it as well, like what your guys' experiences are.
But firstly, do we all believe?
Do
we all believe? Are we all believers?
I would say I'm a very skeptical person when it comes to like say things. I'm one of these that if I haven't seen it or if it doesn't happen to us, it doesn't think. But I've had experiences like, because I've went to creepy places and you get creepy feelings, but I've never really seen anything. But that's just my personal take.
Okay. Anyone else? Do we believe?
I mean,
I do, definitely.
Oh, sorry. I'll let you speak, Beth.
It's all right. I'm just saying, I definitely believe. I've seen things, felt things ever since I was little.
This is gonna be interesting.
I'm a skeptic. The problem is I'm one of those bastards who's basically like, in the scientific thing, but where I'm fully accepting, because it's the fact of there's no smoke without fire. So there's definitely something going on. But I'm in the camp of going, I don't think they're dead people. I think it's something else, like, or it's something that can be scientifically explained. Because, you know, you do get stuff where people, like, you know, feel rooms getting colder, and you can measure rooms getting colder. You can measure people's physical responses or seeing things in the corner of their eye. It's all there, but I think it is explainable, and it's not dead people. But
yeah. Certainly. What about you, Donna? Asha's just taking a mouthful of pop.
I just want to ask, are you dressed like Chun-Li? I know you're sort of green on the thing, but you look amazing. And I'm like, are you, you know, you got the hair, you're fully in blue in the picture, but I don't know.
I was actually just made like these little ghost things, but it's been pointed out that I look like that.
I said it before we came on.
Spooky Chun-Li. There we go. That's it.
It's a look that you can go for, Donna. So you can you're pulling it off.
Donna, you look amazing as always.
But yeah, I completely believe also the same as Beth. I've had like experiences myself. I might have been more skeptical, but I've seen a lot since being a kid as well. So and to be fair, my mum is basically like a magnet for everything supernatural. I've even vowed to the point that I won't stay in the same house as my mum anymore, but I'll tell you more about that as we go on.
I'm getting comfy now. This is going to be fun.
What about you, Sammy? You brought up the question, so
I'm in the same camp as you and Graham. I do believe to a certain extent, right? Like, but I have had some things happen myself. So I don't know. I'm really torn when it comes. Probably shouldn't have asked the question, but I am really torn when it comes down to do I believe or do I not? I'm going to say yeah, I do very much.
I think it's one of them situations that probably the easiest way I can answer this question is I want to believe, but
okay, Fox.
All right, Mulder.
Yes. The truth might be out there. I just haven't found it yet. So, but yes. Probably, I would say if we're going to start with like spooky stories from ourselves, like and experiences. I think I touched on it last year when we talked about, but I'm going to like say again just a bit more detail. I know when I grew up as a kid, like say growing up in Ryop, like say there was a big spooky place where I lived next to Cherry Knowles Hospital. And like say it was next to the old pumping station, and as I said, Ryop Hospital, like before that, what I've been told was an old prisoner of war camp as well. So it does have a lot of like history and like say a lot of that feelings when you're going round that kind of freaks you out a bit as well. But I remember the old bit that they closed down that was supposed to be there for the clinically insane. When you walked around the building, it had a patch of grass where the ground was dead. There was nothing grew on the grass type thing. It was like it could have been like just because people used to walk around it, but there was no like and it was very eerily silent around it. Where especially like if you go in Ryop, like towards that area, like they had Ryop Dean, there was a lot of wildlife, there's a lot of animals, but there was always so quiet. There was never any birds or anything. And we used to go up all the time. We were little shits up in Ryop. We used to break into it and get chased by the police on a weekly basis. But when you used to get inside, it was horrible. There was like they had the cells where they used to strap people down, so they still had the old padded cells. They had a swimming pool, which again I think I told last year, which was strange because this swimming pool that was there was manky, but it had giant goldfish in. Because the security guards that ran the place put goldfish in, and with goldfish they grow to the size of the environment. So they had these massive goldfish swimming about in the swimming pool.
Mind that, like that would alone just freak me out. But was it the fact that you knew what was going on there that scared you more than anything, or was the place itself felt eerie?
It felt eerie. It did. Like say, it's one of them places where a noise will echo literally through the place. So it wasn't easy to get through. So it was like a big chunk of a building, and in the middle of it was we had the stained glass where like they had the church aspect like as part of it. But what used to freak me about as well is what's been a little mining village, all the stories that you used to hear about it, like because it was always like Chinese whispers, like this used to happen and that thing. But one of the things that was factual all the way through Riot, like the hospitals and stuff. There's underground tunnels that take you to different parts of it. So you can, yep, no, there's so you can go because like the hospital and everything was that spread out. So like one building was there. So rather than walking it, there was underground tunnels to take you to different aspects. And what they said was one of the rumors was because the criminally insane used to be there and they used to do tests on them and do things to them. And if they used to pass away, no one wanted to claim the bodies, so they used to bury the bodies underneath in the tunnels.
Holy shit!
That's
crazy.
Again,
the tunnels are very much haunted.
But you don't know this because, as I said, these are just stories that you get told as a kid. Because it's but the tunnels were real. I know people that's been in the tunnels, and unfortunately, I know it's a hard thing to talk about. Like the suicide watch is still up in Cherry Knowles, and one of the patients actually did escape, get into the tunnels, and one of them led to Riot Beach, and was found jumped off the cliff. Because he escaped through the tunnels.
That's a lot of effort to then jump off a cliff.
I'm
free. Never mind.
It's like Shawshank Redemption. It's like he gets out of the prison, gets to freedom, has the rain touch him, and then all of a sudden just drowns.
Yeah.
That's exactly that's Shawshank
Did he find a
Redemption.
newspaper saying that Maggie had become prime minister? And then he was like, right, I got
it. I'm not doing this.
That's it.
But yeah,
off the cliff.
Yeah, but no, I loved all the stories, like especially with it being an old mining village. Like there was always tales that, like my house, the bottom, like my mum and dad's house was. Oh, bless the dogs there.
Got a doggy.
When you look out the back room window, you could see Riop Cemetery. So literally, I was surrounded by all these massive Victorian buildings, like the old. Like if you go to the engine museum, the giant chimney that we used to see get struck by lightning when it used to be a thunderstorm, it was, and with it being so, again, I know I'm making it sound spookier than it probably was.
You're making it sound fucking awesome.
But there was because there was like in Riop, there's lots of wooded areas as well, and at certain times of the year, if you went in the backyard and turned your lights off, you used to have bats flying around your head as well.
So draw the line there. I don't do winged things. No.
We get a lot of bats flying around this house that I'm in now. We sit in the garden watching them. It's really cool.
As long as they don't come anywhere near us, I'm good. I'm good to go. I just do not do flappy things.
No. I think the only time I realised about it as well is because we were out in the back garden, just like look, because it was a nice night, and we thought, oh, what's these things flying about? Is it birds? And it turned out it wasn't birds; it was bats. But yeah, like say, I don't know if anyone's ever been up to Cherry Knoll Hospital. Like it's gone now. It's like it's actually being built into like an estate where people live. I wouldn't like to live there.
God, that is fucking haunted as anything. Then
yeah, like is that going to be poltergeist? You'd be like, you move the headstones, but you never move the grave, the bodies.
Why? Sorry, I love Craig T. Nelson's scream of why. It's my favourite. I haven't been, but I do remember when my little gran was in hospital at Riot, and my mum kind of like pointing out, it's Cherry Knowles.
Yeah.
Don't look at it. I never actually went though, but there was always like, I live like 10, 15 minutes away from it, and there was always stories. And there was always like a story of someone's escaped. Cherry from Cherry Knowles. It was always running in the school playground. Someone's escaped.
Yeah, but I think
I never got to do Cherry Knowles. Like that was gone by the time I sort of got to the area. But I remember a friend who lived in Morpeth, and they had like an asylum there, and they moved like close to where it was and stuff. And they said like, oh, if you ever hear this alarm, it means that someone's escaped. So they had like the old, apparently this is conjecture, but it's the idea of apparently they had the Silent Hill-esque old war like sirens.
Wow.
And then if that happened, it basically went, lock your windows, maybe. And it's
oh my
he's just
God.
kind of like going, oh, what? I wonder why this house was so cheap.
Yeah.
Right. But no, I never got to experience Cherry Knowles, but it's such a local legend.
And I think that's what it's come now, is like legend.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories about it online. There's still loads of photographs you can find on the internet with it, and it's a shame because the buildings were beautiful. Like they were very, like I said, I know when my mum was like younger, when like 16, started like our experience, she worked there, and they had like they used to have like a cinema there at Dare, so kids in the area used to go and watch the cinema like thing. So it through the years it has changed and had aspects of like different things to it. But I've never been in a place where it, as I said, when we broke in again. If you're listening, if I'm sorry, because we had to smash the windows and like get in.
Criminal.
Welcome back to Paul and his many crimes.
Well, dodgy up north, but
Dodgy up north all the way.
But yeah, but like say when you live in Ryop, like say there's fuck all to do in Ryop other than try and break into things like. Not like people's houses, but go into like I'm sounding like a right dodge spot now.
No, you don't.
Abandoned areas and stuff. But it used to be like a mini adventure. But the padded cells was something I've never seen because they used to have the tables where they used to strap people on, and that was still there.
Hell, man, that would even now sends a shiver down us. You really were trying to live that Stephen King life, weren't you?
I hadn't even read it or anything like this by now. I probably did watch Stand By Me, and that probably did want us to, because we used to walk along the rain tracks. Because next to Ryop Dean, there was always the train tracks, the old train tracks that used to go in. That used to be like one of the entrances in. But it used to be just fun little adventures. We didn't even think we were doing anything wrong back in the day. That was the thing.
My God, I live in a mining village, and we had a pit. That was it. We literally had a pit, which my mum's house is now built on top of.
But yes,
technically had an experience with Cherry Knolls a bit different. My mum was in there when she was pregnant with me for about 5 months. Mm-hmm. So, and she said it was super creepy in there. But yeah, so I've technically been in there.
All right. So technically you're a patient in Cherry Knolls. So so we've got one of them still with us.
She's here to tell the story.
But did you go in any tunnels there, or was that not the escape that you were planning on?
Did you stay mainly in the womb?
That was very good.
But yes. But Beth, like say, because I know you've said you've had some experiences, like personal ones as well. So I'm quite interested to hear. So if you've got some stories, I would love to hear them.
Well, my earliest memory of one was where I used to live in Derby, and I remember I couldn't go to sleep, so I woke up and there's this woman sitting at the bottom of my bed,
right? Quite
disfigured, like she was burnt.
Okay.
But she just sat there and smiled at us.
Nah.
No, it was like a warm smile.
Right. Okay. So it wasn't like a scary feeling.
Yeah, she wasn't harmful. I can't remember what she was talking about to us. But she was trying to soothe us, I think, just so I could go back to sleep. And I remember my sister woke up. My sister saw her. She screamed, ran downstairs to my mum, who thought, because my sister had a thing where she used to sleepwalk, but she used to act out her dreams. So my mum thought, she's having a nightmare, she's sleeping. Nope. My mum came upstairs and saw the woman as well. She vanished.
All right.
But she would visit us nearly every night.
Yeah.
And my sister blocked that out, so she doesn't have that, what we say, gift of seeing things or feeling things. But me and my mum do.
Yeah,
because I think the thing is, most of these scientific explanations for like specters and ghosts are like limited to someone's actual brain and perception. So the idea of two people experiencing it is very like significant.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Because I think you've mentioned before that, as you said, when you mentioned about your gift, that you're quite sensitive to these things, and it's almost like because I think you mentioned about crystals and stuff, and like so is it something that you've researched or is it looked into like personally, or is it something that you just find comes naturally?
I think it just comes naturally to me.
Right. Okay.
I was talking to my mum, and even she said it's something to do with the women on me maternal side, I want to say, side of the family. We all have this sort of gift of feeling or seeing things, because she does. My nana did, my great grandmother did, her sisters did, and obviously it went way back, but how far back we don't know, but we all seem to have this sort of gift of feeling. Right.
Okay. And has it manifested in other ways? Has anyone else tried to like reach out or speak? Like again, I'm just going off like my history of learning from Goat Most Haunted. Sorry.
Well, no, not really. Not.
Mm.
I just feel and sense things. Obviously, when I had the brain tumor,
Hmm.
some of it sort of went away,
Right.
but it's slowly coming back now.
Hmm.
And it's like it's ever since my nana passed away as well. I've been heightened.
Okay.
So the senses have been heightened, but there's places that I won't go.
Hmm.
As soon as I get a strange feeling, I'm like, nope,
Hmm.
I'm not going to go that way,
Yeah.
or I don't want to go into that building.
Hmm.
And there was one when I was 12, and I was on a school field trip,
Hmm.
and it was like a humanities trip. So it was geography, history combined.
Hmm.
And we went to the Castle Keep, and they had to lock the dungeon because obviously kids were
Mhm.
coming. Now, the stories with the dungeon have been around for years. It is haunted. Most Haunted did a segment on it, and they won't go back.
Right.
Oh,
They forgot to lock the dungeon, and as we walked past, I saw this man with a top hat.
Mhm.
And obviously, the teachers and the kids thought I was being stupid,
Yeah.
and the staff went, "No, she's telling the truth. People
Mhm.
have seen him. The door's supposed to be closed because
Mhm.
he attacks people.
Right. Okay.
He's
So
quite a violent apparition, ghost, whatever you want to say."
yeah. Because
But
you
I
all
just saw him.
because that's one of
we
the things.
should never trust people with hats, really. I mean,
So-
every
so-
man with a hat is a killer. I'm just putting that out there. That's
Especially a top hat as well, because like
yeah,
say
Yes.
that's it. They're the worst. They'll kill anyone.
yeah, it's like
Psychos.
Tories in disguise.
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
well done.
Yeah. If Jacob Rees-Mogg, if his wrists weren't limp, then he'd actually be able to hurt people.
Right. Okay.
Oh,
But
yes.
going back on the subject, because no, that's quite interesting. 'Cause you normally hear people like say having experiences, but they don't hear that like say they have physical experiences anymore. I know like that's kind of the, like where I lost off with again going back to the Most Haunted as a reference point. At the start, it was just about feelings or having a psychic on to experience it. To the point where if you're watching the later series where things are moved around, I don't know if you ever watched the Privet Drive one, and
Yes.
there's marbles being thrown, knives being
knives.
leaves being left in the chairs and stuff till it gets to the. Then all of a sudden, Carl's got like been knocked out and dragged into a different room and things like that. So they took things to the extreme. Again, I know they started doing like the disclaimers before that this is for entertainment purposes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so they don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
They did one at Eden Camp. Did anyone ever go to that as a kid? It's a World War II museum, and it has recreations of the Blitz and a lot of stuff to do with World War II. And they did one there, and holy shit, like there was some fucked up moments that I thought how they can't have done that.
Mhm.
There's no way. There was one where they're in a room, like a recreation of a house from the 40s, and there's a bicycle at the door, and this bicycle in front of them, there's no camera height, there's no camera angle or anything like that. They are literally next to it, just comes right past them.
Mm.
And as they're just standing there, it just comes, and I'm like, fuck, like if they have done something to manipulate that, how have they done that?
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoy the newer ones, because it's not a case of what was that? Look over there. Like they're not moving the camera in a direction that is not where the noise was.
Mhm.
And also, technically, they have caught a figure on camera that cannot be explained.
Always
I think that's it. It's like it's even like in Ghostwatch or whatever, where it has the whole when you're doing a show about ghosts and you can't make ghosts happen. You can't make paranormal stuff happen. Then you do have to do it. But they probably will catch stuff in. Like when I talk about my experiences, the only things I've had is EVP. And that happens a couple of times, like with recording stuff, and then you just go like, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
Like, it's really odd because you just go, if it is a signal thing, so it's like, wires getting crossed or whatever, why doesn't it happen a lot more? Like, or yeah, sorry, anyway.
I am so fascinated by EVP. I went down a massive rabbit hole recently of people using sound boxes and talking to, trying to pick up to people. And there was one in particular, and it was, Cheyenne. She was murdered by her husband and her two girls as well. They had a huge Netflix Bless
Bless
you. Bless you.
Is there someone there? Do you want to talk to us? Do you need a Kleenex?
Is that a
that was a loud sneeze. But yeah, they had the whole Netflix documentary on it. Cheyenne Watts. I think I'm saying her name right. And honestly, the voice that came through is exactly how I remember hearing it because she's very, very notorious. She was on Facebook all the time. So there was a lot of audio from her. But it was so bizarre. And I got right down this rabbit hole where they were talking to a lot of people and their voices as well, for all that there's these weird noises that come out, you can still distinctly hear that is the person that they're speaking to. Whether or not it's real, I don't know, but I was very much sucked into it.
No, unless when Derek gets possessed and it turns into a weird, like, a Victorian scouser.
I hated the fact how they tried to make him the way that they made him look. It was like, because they must have known all along the kind of person that he was, and then they're like, right, we're gonna show him up here, like, and make us look like the good people and him the bad guy. I really thought that was a bit tacky.
That was, like I say, where the show was going to, though. That was a thing, because then they went and said they weren't going to use psychics anymore because they couldn't trust them, type thing, because they felt betrayed by Derek and stuff like that. But no, but coming back to like our own experiences as well, because I know Donna's been waiting very patiently, so I'm quite interested. Because you said your mum's like a magnet, I think the words you used, so that's an interesting point of view. So let's have a look.
Well, the reason I say that is because she literally sees stuff all the time. So like when I was younger, I used to have a lot more experiences. The first two, like the first one was pretty calm and the second one was terrifying. So the first thing that I can remember, apparently there was more before that, but I don't remember those ones. The first one I remember was when I was going to sleep. My sister went downstairs and I noticed like a glow coming from the cupboard in the corner of the room, and then kind of like emerged a woman with like long blonde curly hair in a white dress, and it was like I got like an overwhelming calming sensation over us. But obviously, like at the time, I didn't know what it was. It's not until like I got older and thought back about it. The second experience I had was terrifying because I was on the bottom bunk with my older sister, and I got woken up. And I looked in the doorway and there's like this large black figure just standing there. And I said, Jackie, my older sister, what are you doing standing in the doorway? And then she moved on the top bunk and I absolutely shit myself. I went under the quilt and I like cried myself back to sleep. And I thought, right, I'm just having a nightmare. 3 or 4 days later, my mum's boyfriend turned around and he was talking to her and says, oh, the other night, I woke up during the night and saw a black figure hovering over me mum. It was the same night that I saw the black figure in the doorway. So that made me absolutely crap myself. Like,
I would have
even
been out
to
the
this
fucking
day,
room.
it scares us. So like two completely opposite for the first and second one. One was calm and one was terrifying. There's been a lot more. That's just like some of them, the first experiences.
Were they in the same place?
The same house, no. First one was in Duxford Park, the second one was Wallsend.
That's crazy.
One thing I wanted to ask to both you and Beth is the idea of like, you know how people talk about like how you have ghosts, but you also have like haunted places. It's the idea of when you get these weird feelings, when you go like, oh, I don't want to go in there or something like that. Do you have to be in the place, or is it like, you know, like you can look at a building and be like, nah, or is it that it's inside, you know, because that's what confused me. But people say that you have like ghosts, which are one thing, demons that are another thing, and then haunted places, which is another thing, you know.
I think for me, it's normally, I always get a bad feeling kind of when you cross the doorway, not so much by looking at it, but when you go in for me.
Yes, I'm the same.
So it's not a case of just visually looking at a place, you have to be in it to feel it.
I'd say because you have people who have auras as well, like people who can see auras. You just must look at a building and be like, that is a delightful shade of piss yellow. I don't know.
You are not
to
piss
go off
yellow
on
now,
one again.
friend.
No. Now the colours have just gone now.
Yes.
And we actually have full colour now.
Yeah.
Apparently the whole black shadow at the door is a thing. My husband listens to a podcast called Paranormal Something, and it is a huge thing, is the black shadow at the door. But the significance of it, I'm not sure, because I didn't realize we'd be talking about it. So I would have asked him more about it.
No,
but,
no, it's
I
fine.
would have dug out my EVPs, but I never actually thought about it, because I remember saving them and sending them to a mate, being like, "Have a listen to this. This is weird," But
that's the thing. That's the thing about this podcast as well, because I'll point out, because someone pointed out in the Facebook group earlier, we don't claim to be experts or person in it. We just talk it as like I say, our experiences or fans side of it.
And we are never prepared.
Never prepared, yes. But again, sorry to be throwing questions at Beth and Donna, but has there ever been a building or a place where you've just got a film and you've refused to go in?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yes.
So what happened with that?
Was that Jackie White's Market?
That was just for the cockles.
I can't remember what it was, but I just had this strange feeling, and I just didn't move. I didn't want to go into this place. I just did not like it.
Right.
I'm trying to think if it was somewhere in Newcastle.
Makes sense.
But I just didn't like it.
Okay, well,
And I was like, no, I'm going this way.
what about you, Donna?
Was that based upon the feeling, or was it based upon like you've been to other places before and gone and associated that way? Right, yeah.
It was a film. What about you, Donna?
I don't think there's anywhere I've really avoided. I feel like that gets more powerful as I get older. But with my mum, like when I moved in, I tell her when I move house, don't say anything, because I'm terrified of ghosts. I'll open up. I'm terrified, even when the common ones. I'm literally hate it. I have to sleep with a light on. But yeah, when I move into this house, my mum went into one of the bedrooms upstairs and she said, someone who was in this room died. And I'm like, yeah, but that happens in all houses and whatever and stuff. But then, because this is the street where my nana lives, it actually turned out that young girl who was in that room, specifically that room, got knocked over by a car. And my mum could sense that, and I'm like, I told you not to fucking tell us this stuff. I was like, can you not? And she's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I have nightmares because of you.
I am like half wanting your mum to come to my house and half not wanting your mum to come to my house. I want to know. My cousin had my auntie, I should say, had an incredibly hectic experience with a haunting that ended up with a priest being brought to the house. She lives not a few minutes away from us, old mining home.
Well, you can't just tell us half a story. Go from the start.
No, I am. It happened within that. It's happened within the home. There is. I'm trying to think from the beginning. So it started just with random noises, random banging coming from one of the airing cupboards from upstairs. Now it had just.
Donna, were you in the cupboard?
Was it you? They had just had an extension done, but the airing cupboard was still left where it was. It hadn't been moved, and the noises were coming from there. And honestly, every room upstairs was Baltic freezing. Even if the radiators were on, it was incredibly cold. I used to babysit for her, and you could hear the banging going on upstairs, and it wasn't like rattling. It wasn't pipes. It was literally fist on a door banging. And my cousin, who must have been about 6-year-old at the time, would just go to the bottom of the stairs and go, quiet now. And it would just stop. She would literally like, right, that's it, that's enough. And it would stop. And would I hell stay over at that house? But it got so bad that they did have to get a priest in to come and do a blessing on the room. It didn't stop it. It made no fucking difference. My cousin still lives in that house with her 3 children. And she still hates that room where the extension that it was done on was her bedroom. And it's kind of like a room that has stairs going up into the loft, and she point blank refuses to walk in there by herself. She says it still happens to this day. But it was that one night that I was over, and she just stood on the stairs and just went, quiet now, time to go to bed. I'm not staying here. Oh, fuck that.
But this is what I was saying about the scientific aspect, where it's like, you get a lot of people who are scientifically minded who will just be like, no, ghosts are real, it's all nonsense. And you're like, yeah, but we have people that genuinely live in a house and won't go into a room. And you're kind of going, you can't really just write it off as like, superstition when people are like that. But then again, though, we believe that we have religious people who are kind of like going, no, I definitely will go to hell if I do this. And it's like, well, okay. There's conviction there.
No, you're right. As you're saying, because that's I think a lot of it is a power of the mind. Like I say, I think people's
100%.
imagination and what can run away, like certain things can, like you can explain it away that way, but with like I said, in previous episodes we've talked about like things like aliens, conspiracy theories and stuff. There's probably a million things that does go on that there's an explanation for, but there'll always be that one thing that can't be explained. And as you said, people feel things. Like as you said, you'll go in a room, you'll get goosebumps. Animals like dogs and cats and stuff, they'll react to certain things, and you can never, because they can't talk to you and tell you why they're reacting that way. But it's always like a strange, and I think that was a good point you picked up on about the kids, because kids always seem to pick up on, because a lot of kids, like, we're going to make it sound might be just me, like have imaginary friends when they're younger, and you kind of grow out of that.
Imaginary.
So that's always been the aspect as well. Is that just the kids making up like these type of aspects, or is there actually more involved with
something to it? Oh well, Anthony is 100% convinced his sister, because she had imaginary friends called Peppy and Toonie.
Right.
And
what a name!
I hope my sister-in-law is watching. I'm sorry, I'm telling you stories, but it was the reaction to them being hoovered up by her dad. That was what got him. He was like, it's too real. That kind of reaction for not something not to be behind it. I have had an experience in my mother-in-law's house, which happened a few years ago. Now, my mother-in-law's house I've been with Anth 16 years, and I've only ever known that house the way that it is. I've never seen it any different. But I was literally in Aunt's mum's kitchen, and I was putting some milk in the fridge, and when the fridge doors open, you can't see the living room behind it. So when you close the fridge, the living room is visible. And I saw a woman sitting on a chair at the window. Her hair was in like kind of the beehive style from the 50s, cardigan on, and just sat there. And it was a second, and it was over.
Right.
And I told it to my mother-in-law. And she was like, when we had the house, before it was all done out, we didn't have the patio doors at the back. We had a chair sitting in front, and her mum used to sit on that chair. And the way that I described her, she's like 100% convinced I saw her mother sitting on that chair, and a woman I have never met before. And it was honestly, for as much as I saw, I could tell you the chair she was sitting on, and I can still see it today. It happened. It was over within a second.
All right.
So weird.
It's like, as you said, it's interesting, but it's just like you're saying that you saw these things, but you're still a skeptic.
Oh my God, my sister-in-law is in the chat. She says, Peppy killed Toonie. I freaked. His dad put the Hoover on the dead body. Oh my God.
Oh well.
No, hi
Michelle. But just your point you made there, because you're saying you've seen these things as well, but you're still a skeptic. So it's like
it's like I'm torn. I'm like torn. I'm one of these people who probably do believe more than what I'm lead on, but I don't want to look. So I don't want to look like that person.
No. That, like I say, there's nothing, because I think there's a lot of stigma when it comes to this type of thing, that people always look down on it, which is wrong. Because again, that's always the big believer. Like, people can believe what they want as long as they don't try and force their opinions on anyone else. That's the thing. But you should never be like made to feel ashamed or bad for like having these beliefs as well. But because I remember Graham saying something a little bit earlier there. That's an interesting point, because like when we talk about ghosts as a whole, there's a wide variety of things, because they'll say like there's just the energies, then there's apparently like demon bodies and stuff that become more like violent or angry, poltergeists. So there is a wide range. I wouldn't, again, not to like to shit on it or anything like that. Is there a reason particularly why there's such a wide range, or like is there a particular reason why there's such differentiate between these type of bodies?
I think for me, there's a lot of bollocks in the mix. Like there's a lot of, there's genuinely, there must be something there, and there's a lot of truth to it. But the fact is, it's, when you see these people and they immediately jump to demons, they're like, oh, must be a demon in the house. And you're just like going, does it not have anything better to do, really? I mean, it's, it's the state of television nowadays. The demons can't just sit down and watch Netflix or something. But No, that makes me a bit skeptical. The same with aliens and stuff,
Mhm.
like where, like there's all these millions of different races, and you just go, and one guy ever has experienced that one race, and you just go like, okay, I'm going to put that on the might be bollocks pile. But I just want to, it's pretty full, if I'm perfectly honest. But no, actually, could I just say about from a scientific angle, like what we were saying earlier about like kids being more responsive to these kind of things. I think I think it might just be because like, as we get older, we get used to stuff, and the brain basically just goes, it normalizes stuff and it kind of skims over the stuff that it's used to. It's why time seems to pass faster when you get older, because we've experienced everything. Nothing surprises us because like we're like, oh, you're doing the same thing. Like, those moments around the house where you sort of go, oh, where did I put that thing? I was just holding it. And it's because you've done it millions of times and your brain just stopped.
So I'm not going crazy.
No, it's the brain sort of just like caching information really. But then the problem is, as a kid, everything is new and you haven't been taught to write things off, and you haven't been like, so there's probably loads of stuff that kids have that like as adults we just kind of instinctively ignore without even registering. That it doesn't mean they're not still happening. It just means it's like Terry Pratchett in like the Discworld books where it's when they're talking about is it in Mort and stuff, where basically the reason why people can't see death is because they choose not to, because they're like, nope, that can't be happening. So, and then only certain people that are open-minded enough will go, oh, actually, he's really there. And I think, I don't know, I think there's an element of that in it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's almost like, again, talking about books, but like the Harry Potter, like when, because he's been near death, he could see the beasts that were pulling, the Nargles that were pulling the carriage.
No, the Kestrels.
The Kestrels were the...
Kestrels. Did you say Narwhals?
Narwhals.
That would be a very different film.
Very different. Really? I have literally just read that book as well.
How are they pulling the carriages?
But yeah, like, because they always say like trauma can like open up the brain and like aspects as well. So again, is that just different aspects of being more open? Because I just said being scientific is about the situation, because when they always do tests on the human brain, they always say we're only using 10% of the capabilities of what could be used. When they like say all them different aspects, and as you look at the human body and essence as well, I know like chemicals and imbalance causes different personalities and like different behaviors, and how if like say something happens to you that can change that behavior as well. Because I've seen it happen from a personal side of things. Then it's like say it makes you think, is like human body just like as I said, just a really complex machine, and things like souls and energies, do they exist? But I'm one of these things where I believe in energy rather than actually spirits, if that makes sense. Because as logically you say, is every reaction has got a reaction, or a reaction's got an action. So when you die, there's energy in you that's got to go somewhere. So that's my belief. And again, I would love there to be an afterlife, because then the fear of death goes away and scares, because I think that's where a lot of this is drawn from, is human and mankind's or womankind's sorry, I didn't want to generalize that, is fear of death, which is a very logical fear, because people don't want to know what's afterwards, and it's a nice little thing to think about, that there's something there that's going to happen or be around after it. It's like that cozy type of element, and that's where a lot of religion comes from as well. Problems with religion as well, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yes, we're filling in the blanks of our reality that like we don't know. And it's like nowadays we're like, oh, the sun is a big star. It's not like a ball of, well, it is a ball of fire, but it's like that whole thing of where in the past people thought this, and the thing is, obviously people think that we're taking away the mystery of life by sort of answering stuff with science, but there's so much fucking out there in terms of the mystery of life. It's like no, there's more to come,
But definitely. But so would you say, like, cause I know there's a lot of things that we've ran through there quite a lot, and I didn't want to just like shit on anyone, so I was being very careful with the words I was using, because I know how disrespectful sometimes it can be. But when, as I said, with the different entities and different beings and different levels, like I don't know, I know because Donna and Beth, you said like with your experience, have you ever has it just been like feelings or seeing things, or have you had any experiences where the beings have been a little bit more adventurous, shall we say?
Physical?
It's a bit of both, really.
All right, cool.
Seen things, like I say, I've seen things. I actually see orbs.
Mm-hmm.
I actually when Donna was talking, I actually saw an orb fly past her. It was very quick.
Donna, you haunted again.
Donna?
But I see a lot of orbs in my house, especially upstairs, my room, my sister's room, and downstairs. There's things that happen downstairs that we can't explain. We still think my Nana's here.
Right. Just looking after you.
Just watching us, making sure we don't do anything stupid.
Well,
is it like Santa? Do you have to leave a plate of biscuits and something out and some sherry?
No, but having said that, before my brother moved in, it was one morning, I could smell toast and no one was awake.
Are we going back to the how do you know you had a stroke thing?
Yeah, I have smell is one of my things as well. I can smell flowers. I can smell gas a lot. Apparently my husband hates us for that, because I will sit there and go, I'm sure I can smell gas, and he's like, there's literally no gas in it, like apart from the heating in the boiler, which is in the garage, there's no possible way I can smell gas. Toast is another one, but flowers is a massive one, and I do get a hint of stale smoke, which I am 100% convinced is my grandparents, because they were very heavy smokers.
I mean, it's
And then it's broth.
The brain can trick people into thinking stuff. So it's Beth, if you associated your grandma with toast and stuff, it might not be that there's actually the smell of toast, but because you're sensing your grandma and there's that extra sensory perception where you're just like, oh, she's here, that your brain's like, oh yeah, toast, yeah, always. I don't know, like I'm totally assuming that.
Yeah, that's understandable, but I'm not the only one that experienced that. My mum has, and my sister, and it's just that landing, we can hear footsteps and nobody's there.
See, I wouldn't like that though. I know, again, the people like say like the cozy thing, but if someone's making noises and stuff, that would piss us off.
Yeah.
I would be the grumpiest bastard as well. Especially
you're not bothered about the fact that there's some entity walking around your house. It's like you've just fucking
walk
woke
us
me
up.
up.
Get the broom out. Be like, shut up.
It's not malevolent. 'Cause if it was, as we were saying, the dogs would react, especially the big one, Jasper, because he's so defensive of the property. We would know.
Yeah.
But there was one, my mum actually told us, she went, were you on the landing last night? I went, no. Well, the dog was wagging his tail because everyone wanted to play.
Right.
And the dogs will follow someone into the kitchen as well when I'm by myself. They look up and they'll follow someone into the kitchen. Or they'll throw a toy at something that isn't there.
Yeah.
Animal reactions
Like,
are
no,
insane.
he just wants to play.
Yeah.
Like I remember, what is it? There was a cat once that would come around to my house. You know how cats do, and it would just have bits where it would just stare at a certain point in the wall, like a certain point on the wall, and there was nothing going on there, kind of thing. And I'm just going, is there something on the other side? Is there a rat in the wall? Is the rat just standing still for 10 minutes? But it's just really strange, being like, what is this animal doing?
Yeah.
Donna, is that a really good indication of things? Like, have you ever had pets that have reacted and stuff?
I hadn't had pets since I was younger, so I've only just recently got a pet again. But I know that family members have had stuff like that with pets, like hairs on end and run down. I did actually have that one time when I was babysitting. It was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting watching Kerrang while I was babysitting, and the dog was proper spooked running around. So yeah, but actually, I wanted to add to one of the facts you're saying about kids pick up on stuff more. I have heard that ghosts tend to come to when you're in a complete relaxed state of mind, which is why it comes to a lot of people who are during the night or when you're going to sleep. So I think that could be why kids see things more often, because they don't have a lot of the stresses or worries that an adult has, and they're a lot more calm.
Oh, so that's why never come to me then, because I'm stressed as fuck.
That's actually that's such a
damn you anxiety.
That is such a lovely segue to what I wanted to ask about next. Is, has anyone experienced anything in a dream? Because I have had dreams where I have actually had a full-on conversation with my grandfather, where I have actually turned around at one point and said, in the dream, I was like, I had my phone in my hand and I was explaining to him, I can never dial on my phone in a dream. And I went, oh God, this is a dream. And I'm like telling him what my phone is, because my granddad died in 2000. He has never seen a mobile phone as they are today. And I'm explaining to him the phone, and I just look at him and go, my God, this is a dream. Yeah. This is not real. This is not actually happening. But I'm going to quickly tell you all what's been going on. Told him about, me house, my marriage, and this, that, and the other. And then he went, well, if it's not a dream, if it's going to end soon, maybe you should see your grandmother. And my gran, out of nowhere, just came over, give us a hug. And that hug, I can still feel today. I can still feel the fact that she touched us. And I woke up, but I knew it was a dream. And I remember telling him, this is a dream. Has anyone had an experience? Because I do think that is like my grandfather coming to see us. And I have felt like I've had other moments like that before. Anyone else?
Just me? I don't know if I'll come to you in a second, Donna. I'll just tell a funny story. I don't know if it was a ghost, but it happened quite only a few nights ago, where I felt like something was on my back, and I was in mid-dream, and I dreamt that something got me back. So to get it off, I rolled over and I actually fell out of bed. and then I nearly knocked myself out because I smashed my head off the back of the drawers and everything. But Nick woke up, thought I'd dropped my phone, but I literally just say I thought something was on my back, so I actually rolled out of bed. That only happened, what was it, 2 nights ago?
Yeah, I know when my sister has had dreams like that, where she's had physical, she can physically feel within the dream. And my sister does, I don't think she believes. She used to, she was a massive Most Haunted fan, but I think she's kind of very skeptical now. But she has had them. My sister-in-law, who has just pointed out in the chat that she has had exactly the same, and I think it was our uncle, if I remember rightly. I'm sure she'll correct us, but I generally believe that my granddad came to see me that night.
Cool. What about, sorry, Donna, for cutting you off there.
Sorry, Donna.
It's all right. I do have a few stories, but leading on from what you said, Sammy, it makes us think of this one. So my friend, her best friend had passed away a few years ago. Her friend was called Sam. I hadn't actually met her, and one night I woke up and her friend Sam was stood at the bottom of my bed in a long navy dress, and she was pregnant and rubbing her belly and just kind of saying, I'm okay. I thought it was kind of a weird thing to dream about, because I'd never actually met the person. I didn't really know much of what they looked like. After that dream, I went onto Facebook and had an round. I decided to tell my friend about it, and then because I was like, I don't think I'm weird, but I'm going to tell you this dream realistic or whatever thing it was. And she was so happy, because she said that in the whole time she knew her, the happiest that her friend was when she was pregnant, and her favorite color was navy blue. And I was like, okay, that's odd. But yeah, it made her happy when I did tell her a comforting thing, I'm okay now kind of thing.
See, that's wonderful. But it's that idea of so, because what state do ghosts appear in? So obviously, we're saying, because I'm assuming that she didn't die when she was pregnant.
No.
Yeah, so it's that idea of but the manifestation of it, or the memory of it that you haven't experienced, was at a time in their life which you didn't experience. It's it's really strange. So it's like a memory of a specific point of someone. Yeah.
Well, they do say that as well. It's almost like the energy can leave a recording in time, I think it's called. If it's where they'll be in constant state of a memory that they have that they're kind of reliving. But again, that's more to what I would probably believe, energy being transferred and moved into thing. Because as I said, everything, even if you think about something, that leaves an electronic pulse in your brain. So that potentially could be stored, as I said, as a going scientific computer. So I know they're looking I think Russia's close to being able to transfer memories into computer, so you can actually save. I think that's what Russia's working on at the moment. That was what came out on one of the conspiracy theory podcasts I listened to not too long ago.
Hold on. Are we saying that we're going to end up with Mecha Putin? No, it just comes over the horizon.
Funny enough, you're making the joke, but the rumor is that Putin is supposed to be dying. That's why he's supposed to be going crazy now. Yeah. That's why he's like he's trying. That's why he's trying to leave his legacy. Why he's not taking on anything, but he's supposed to have like got some kind of terminal illness. But then they're racking up all these type of technologies to try and either keep him alive or transform him into, as you said, into a computer form, which again...
Oh my God.
But again...
That is terrifying. That is so terrible. Didn't Disney want that, or did he just want to be frozen?
Disney's head, Walt Disney's head is still frozen away.
Apparently that is like false. I would hope it was true, but apparently it is not.
I'm sure the Nazi lover is frozen somewhere.
But going back to dreams,
sorry,
I'm not crazy. No, but I'm not crazy for that.
Mm-hmm. No,
I think that's
the same
amazing,
thing
what you've said.
happened with me, with my nana, and I turned around and said it actually upset us when I woke up. I said, "Nana, you're supposed to be dead. Why are you here?"
Yeah, and it was such a realization that I had with my granddad that I was like, "Oh my God, this is not real." Like I know, and I'm saying it out loud to him. I know this is not real. I know you're not here. It was so crazy.
And she turned around and said, "I may be dead, Beth, but I'll always be with you." I was like,
very uncomfortable at that point.
Like
moments, Grandma.
If you're having a bath, if you're having a wank, but
yeah, it's like there's moments, Grandma. You can take a break.
Yeah,
that's it. Just boy your grandma.
She didn't mean it like that.
No, I'm only joking. Yeah. Sorry. I'm just dissing your grandma. I'm feeling bad now. I felt guilty as soon as it came out of my mouth. Actually,
just making light because I have like such a strong belief that night he came to see us, and I am yet waiting for another visit.
Yes,
because it's been a while. I had to bring that up because it's one of the things that even my sister can't explain. It's the physical touch. So that's what gets that.
So with this as well, because what it sounds like, do you feel like these ghosts are drawn to you, or drawn like because as you said before, with you having this gift that's kind of unlocked or that you've always had, is it something that they can resonate to and like go towards you, or is it just basically when you walk towards a building or walk into a building that it's attached to that building? I know, like say, some people's made comments that they attach themselves to objects as well, and so on. If we want to go down the Warren and the bullshit, but sorry.
These like these possessed items.
Yeah,
I remember that program with what's his face from Ghost, Zach Baggins, who did like a whole possessed item thing.
I am such a skeptic of Zach Baggins. Well, one of my friends, Baron LeVay, who's a very talented drag king. Like, I think that they've got that thing where they grew up with that and like Ghost Adventures and stuff.
Yeah.
And therefore they give it more credence. But I'm sort of sitting there as a skeptic being like, you know.
Yes. But there's something about him.
It's entertaining stuff, but it was the idea of he genuinely seems to believe this. Like, you know, it's this, this thing like Derek Acor, where you just kind of go, I think you might be a charlatan, and you're quite aware you're a charlatan. Whereas I think with him, he's very much kind of like into it.
believes his own hype type thing.
Maybe like, you know, whether he knows he can make money out of it or whether he genuinely is a believer who's, you know.
I think there's a massive difference between American and British side of this. There's a big divide. Like, I know, as I said, the programs we do, I know the piss take with Ghostwatch. Like, the reason why I believed it was so long because Michael Parkinson was involved, and I didn't think Parky would trick us like that, the bastard. But
Parky lied to
why, Parky?
Why? But with the American shows, I know Netflix did a show. I watched that. Like, say, I binged it. It was only for the Halloween special. 28 Days in a Haunted House.
My sister-in-law just mentioned that to me the other day.
Yeah, and it's basically they're going through, like I think it's a son-in-law from one of the Warrens or one of his sons, doing an investigation to prove the theory of the Warrens, saying that if you're in a haunted house, it'll aggravate and it'll escalate it to the point. But with it being Americans, they had spiritualists in, they had demonologists in, and the way they went on, they were complete bellends to each other. Because one of the spiritualists like saying, "Look, I don't want to use mirrors because mirrors is gateways to bad stuff," and I was she's giving valid points, and they're like, "Well, what the fuck's she here for?" Went all American on it, saying like, causing drama. So it almost like was like fucking watching an episode of Big Brother, but it started to get to the point where it was so unbelievable and so ridiculed that it made a farce of the whole experiment if it was real, because they had one guy who was a demonologist, and for him to tap into the spirit world, he wore a spirit helmet or something, and it was just basically a bicycle helmet with lights on, and it looked so stupid and ridiculous. And I honestly, I was like, you're shitting us, because before they were doing this very seriously. I was like, all right, might be a genuine experience, and like say they were saying, oh, this person, like one of the people sits in a coffin and great, doing a funeral parlor, it's spooky as fuck. But he put this fucking bike helmet on, and it tapped him into the energy so much that he had a heart attack, and they rushed him to hospital, and they let him out the next day. They said, oh, they've never experienced anything. I've showed all signs of a heart attack, but I didn't have one. By this point, I was like, fuck you.
Oh my God. Do you know what? I have like this image of like Peacemaker's helmet.
It was worse than that. It was almost like Vigilante had made this shitty light up thing, and it was like, honestly, watch it just for the reasons, because the start in the episodes, it is entertaining, and I think, right, this is going to be serious. It's going to be taking it serious, but it gets to the point where it's like, dude, you've just made it this, yeah.
I think the problem is, though, that it's like, hopefully Donna and Beth will agree that it's the fact of sometimes you need things to tune you into things. You need like it's why we have meditation. It's why we have ritual, where it's the idea of most of the time, I don't think ritual or lighting candles or sort of the specific words of spells mean anything, but they get people into the mindset to make things happen or experience things. That's the way I would justify it in my head. And I think it's this idea, this poor bastard just has it where it's like, oh, you have to put this stupid hat on in order to like tune into it. Everyone else is just like, oh, I've got this amulet, there we go, sorted. Whereas he's like, I'll put my helmet on. And he's just going, oh, really, could you pick a better one? All the objects to try and hone your power in, you are going to pick a fucking helmet?
Yeah, but then he switches. He's going to switch on the power now, and he switch on, and fucking lights turn on as well. I was like,
should they added some sort of drink straw as well?
Sorry, what was that?
Donna?
Should they added some sort of drink straw to it as well?
Yes.
Like a can on the back of the helmet.
Ghost hunting is thirsty work.
But get myself pissed up on this helmet.
Because I know, like, say with the British side of things, there's not many shown on TV now. Normally, you do get YouTube specials. There was one I watched a few years ago, because, like, say, after the Most Haunted episode, I was obsessed. I love the Law of Pendle Hill, and the Pendle Hill witch trials, and like when you look back, the actual story of Pendle Hill it's a brilliant story, and Most Haunted did actually highlight some points, even though it went crazy by the third episode when Derek Cora said he saw an alien, and I was like, dude, you've made two great episodes and you've just fucked us now. So and he didn't even use lube, so it wasn't great. But
oh my God.
But with this, like I say, they done like say I can't remember the thing, but the guy spent a few days in Pendle Hill, and they just went investigating the history and investigated like what went on. Either these women were going through doing witchcraft and doing these horrible things, or they were just persecuted because they were different, as with the Salem. But apparently the energy and stuff, that's always a place I've always wanted to go as well. So the Pendle Hill information always does like bring back. I don't know if anyone knows about the stories of Pendle Hill or I've looked into it before.
I've tried to look into it, but quite honestly, the material that I had was boring as shit. But I do remember I do remember watching the Most Haunted one, and I know vague, like little bits about it, but it is interesting. It is our Salem, like that. Can I just hear dogs growling?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
What is
It's
going
Nova.
on?
Fireworks are going off, just
Oh,
twice of them.
I thought I was talking about Pendle Hill Nugget. No, we're not talking about that anymore.
I thought somebody was hungry.
I feel like I've said something because Grant is pointing something out and laughing, and now my sister-in-law is laughing in the chat, and I don't know what I've said.
Oh dear.
To be fair, can
Oh,
I just
dear.
draw attention to how amazing the chat is? Like,
Yes.
it's absolutely hilarious. I think Grant was saying that he'd come back and possess a dildo.
Right.
Lee's had some class stuff. Michael, well, what's Michael just said? Yeah, do yourself a favor and don't Google ghost helmet.
The chat has been absolutely phenomenal tonight, so thank you guys for joining us.
Oh, have we lost
What were we
someone?
talking about?
We've
Lost
lost Beth.
Beth. I think she's gone to sort her dogs out.
Has the ghost got you? Have you?
Has Gaza come with her fishing rod? Right, I'll
Do you know what that
Oh,
does
no,
to
Gav.
the YouTube, Beth?
I'll put this up until Beth comes back. Don't worry.
Yeah. Pendle Hill, yes, I know the Most Haunted episodes, and they are freely available to watch on YouTube.
Hmm. Yes, a lot of the stuff are, and when it comes to the Pendle Hill, like the episodes, all three of the episodes, I would say watch the first. Actually, the number one and
I
number
wanna see
three.
the fucking alien.
When Derek says, I could be like, because he scores all weird and stuff, and says, I'm gonna be
There we
disbanded or
go.
something.
I'm back.
You're back. You're going to be disbanded because I'm saying that, but he's I see an alien. It's like, no, you really don't.
Oh my god, you just got and ruined like 2 brilliant episodes by calling out fucking aliens.
Yes. But-
Watching ghosts, Derek, not aliens.
But the thing what I always found interesting, because with that one was quite good when they did when they do the Ouija boards or the seances. I always find it quite interesting as well, especially like say when it comes from like the Ouija boards being a was it Hasbro or
Oh yeah, it's Hasbro, isn't it?
yeah,
Or is it?
I can't remember
think
Martell maybe
Maybe Mattel,
Mattel.
actually.
Mattel who actually brought out the actual the board. I'd say again, I'll be honest, I've owned Ouija boards, but I've never actually been partaking into it just because I don't know. It's the fear factor of actually doing. But has anyone actually did one or been part of
Yeah.
one?
Yeah. Many a
Have you got
times.
anything out of it though? Like, because I always wonder if people do Ouija boards, and it's literally like someone sat on their phone or something. Like. You just have this big string of sort of like, oh right, okay, sorry, no, the entity's like stood on its phone or something.
As a child who was absolutely like obsessed with horror and and my friends were no different. We were trying to scare each other on a regular basis. That was the aim of the game, really. Ouija boards was the one thing that we used to do quite frequently. And yeah, it was a load of bullshit. We were literally pushing it ourselves because we were literally just trying to scare each other. We were obsessed with the movie Witchboard.
Right.
Which we only knew it as Ouija, but it in actual fact is Witchboard. It's from the 80s. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it. It is brilliant. But we were obsessed with that movie, so Ouija boards are a thing. I do own one. It was the centerpiece for my wedding. Was a Ouija board and a planchette, and it's in my living room right now.
So there was no message on it saying "Don't do it, run away" type
Don't do
thing.
it, run! It's too late.
Just leave.
What about Donna? You seem like a spooky bitch that would do something with a Ouija board.
I did a lot of them with my friends. I also agree that they're bullshit, but I also don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't like them.
We never really got anything from them.
Emma's just reminded us that we did one in the playground next to my house, and I've known Emma since we were 16, so that's how old I was.
Can I just say though, on the subject of Ouija boards and like divination, because that ties into what we're saying,
Yeah.
like there are some really shit forms of divination that are like, Ouija boards are like really direct, where it's literally you get a message and it's yes or no, and it's like, it's like, oh cool, this is like the technological advancement of that. But I remember in Silent Hill 1, the video game, it has the character Dahlia Gillespie basically being like, "Oh, I knew you would come. It was foretold by gyromancy." And then obviously, now that we have the internet, I Googled what gyromancy is, and it is the stupidest thing in the entire world. It's basically, you have the alphabet in a circle and you walk round in circles until you stumble. So that might be like 50 laps or something. And then that's the letter. And you just keep doing it. Imagine if it was like a wrong number or something.
Honestly, you were a bit clumsy that day.
Walking for 5 hours, you know, it's like, and I'm like going, yeah, just like there must be some really terrible forms of divination out there.
Oh wow. I had a karma reading done recently at Tynemouth Market, and the woman who I had it from, the minute I sat down, she actually asked if I could just sit back just a few inches away from her. She said the anxiety that was coming off me was overpowering, and at the time I was in the worst place. And she actually said to us, "You have a light side and a dark side. You need to move from your dark side and stop looking at your Ouija board and move to your light side." And it wasn't until I got home and realized I do yoga every day. My mat sits between my cabinet and my little side cabinet. My cabinet on this side has my Ouija board, which I would normally face, and my other cabinet has my crystals.
So I want you to stick your ass at the Ouija board rather than your face.
Yeah, she was like, you need to stay away from the Ouija board. So I now do yoga on the other side. I face the other side, and my performance is so much better.
Was she a spiritualist or like a feng shui?
It was more. I've never actually. Honestly, it's the first time I've ever done anything like this before. But it was more cards. She was doing a lot. It was like cards and literally like on the spot. Yeah, not tarot, but it was. Yes, it was tarot, but it was
Happy Families.
You've got
this man. You know?
But saying that though, when we did the episode with Holly Golightly, that like amazing artist from America, like say part of the group, she's just got a job doing Archie comics again, so she's doing like the Christmas special.
Well done, Holly.
She came on the podcast and she did a kind of like a card reading for us, and it was just like, so it was at the time it was me, Sam, and Charlotte, and again I'll be honest, I was blowing smoke. Because I don't, it's not something that I heavily believe in or anything, but the things that she said to us, and again, we have had interactions with Holly basically through like Instagram or just small messages. So there isn't really too much knowledge I know, and she picked out stuff that just off a little like an hour conversation that we had that fucking scared the life out of me. That episode, if you watch back, you can see me go, I don't like this.
Yeah. Can we end now? It was absolutely spectacular. I can't remember what it in actual fact she said to us, but I just remember at the time thinking, how does she know this? Make it stop. I am quite spiritual in a way. Like I do like tarot, and I do like it's more the moon fascinates me more than the energy from the moon fascinates me more than anything. And I do have a lot of moon readings, but that's just me interpreting. That's not somebody else interpreting. But I've never ever had one of those readings done before, and it was just mind blowing. Just some of the stuff like she came out with. I did enjoy it. I was very much taken aback.
The other side of the scale, I went to obviously a fortune teller once, and they got every single thing wrong. And I was just like, okay, that wouldn't help at all. They were like, oh, you know, this was like 20 years ago, and they're like, oh, you will move to Edinburgh and you will be happily married to a woman with like several kids. And I'm just okay, well, that's unexpected, really. You know, it's one of these things. It's like, I don't think my boyfriend at the time really minded, but but it's that thing where you just kind of go like, but it's weeding out the ideas because they're must be genuine people like this because so many people experience things.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying there, that's so specific. And if they were a faker, they wouldn't make a leap like that. How you have people who read rooms where they just go, "Oh, is there a Dave in the room?" And
Yeah.
I think there might be.
Is
but
there
to
a
say,
John?
"Oh, you have a Ouija board," they might have gone like, "Oh yeah, you've got black hair. Maybe you're a goth. Maybe you've got a Ouija board." But if they missed that would have probably immediately shaken you off.
So I have my mum, when I told my mum I had this reading, my mum is always very much on the case of please be careful, please don't read too much into this, because my mother's auntie was very much into mediums, and she would go and see one frequently, and instead of allowing the universe to provide, she went and did it anyway. So she was totally listening to these mediums of what they were. She went and she left her husband, her kids. She just went off and she did it beforehand, and my mum hated it. But my mum did the same thing. She went to a medium when she was pregnant with me, because at the time they didn't offer scans to women for gender or anything like that. And she went to a medium and was told, "You're having a girl." And lo and behold, here I am. And then she went and did the same with my sister and was told, "You're having a boy." My sister was Daniel right up until the minute she was, "Oh my God, it's a girl."
Poor Michaela. Poor Michaela.
That is why Michaela is Michaela.
Give it 5 more minutes. Go on, put it back.
But
that's why my sister is called Michaela, because it is literally my dad's name with an E on the end. Yeah. Because they did not know what a name.
No, but I remember, being at school, because I went to DM Dot. It was a bit of a dodgy school, I'll be honest, down in Roker. There was a lot of obsession with Ouija boards and, that type of thing, where a lot of kids were getting into them or talking about them and stuff, to the point where it was going around the school that they actually got the local priest to come in to talk to us about it. So, and what he said always stuck with us as well. There's a lot of evil in the world, but when it comes to, Ouija boards and stuff, it's more mental harm than actual conjuring or doing anything. So if you've got the mental capability of thinking something's bad, and then something like a tool like a Ouija board taps into that, it can have more mental distress or mental harm to people than it realizes. So that was the kind of thing he kind of pushed on, and I always remember that because this was a man that, as I said, believes in God, religion and stuff, and he's was talking to us on such a normal level that it wasn't going to go all God, demons and bad things. It was talking a mental health aspect, and this was in the 80s, before mental health was a thing that came out. So that always did really stand to me, and think that's why I've always kind of looked as Ouija boards as a bit of a joke aspect. I never really wanted to do them as decor because of that kind of conversation that I had. But I know, a lot of people do have different aspects and different views, and it can affect there as well. But I know Donna said she's got a few other stories as well, so I'm
come on, Donna, enlighten us.
So I'm waiting for her to go all Haley Joel Osment on us.
Before I got the stories, actually, my mum does readings and fortunes and stuff. She's also received a lot, and one of the ones she got told when she was younger is that when I grow up, is that I'd become a big spiritualist. Well, I never really went down that route unless that happens when I'm older. But I have had a couple of weird experiences where I've said something or I've kind of predicted something, not not so much about a person. So I had this weird experience when I was a kid. I was building some towers up and knocked them down, and there was a comment about the Twin Towers being knocked down, and it was the day after when that happened. There's things
did you cause it? Is that what we're saying? I mean,
is this you admitting it?
Okay, I thought Paul was the biggest criminal on this podcast, but you're that's...
You've taken it to a whole different level.
We're there. Donna, are you Bin Laden?
It's okay.
But there's random things where I've said something's going to happen. That's happened. Even as an adult, in my old house, I said I'd said that the next door neighbour was going to pass away. I sensed it. I had a feeling it was going to happen. And the next morning,
Stay the fuck away from me.
she actually passed away during the night, because the next morning, and during the night was weird. I heard cats crying and everything, and it probably freaked me out. But there's just like little daft things. Like the other day when I was in the hospital, I'd had like 10 lots of bloods taken. On the 10th one, I was like, she's going to fuck it up this time, and it's going to squirt everywhere. In my head, she fucked it up, and the blood squirted everywhere. And I was like, fuck, I wish I could have told somebody that. Like, there's nobody here, and like it just sounds made up. But I generally think random things, and it happens. So it's not so much readings or anything, but just I still find it weird.
Donna, if you have any premonition, keep it yourself.
I always wonder about this though. Like, obviously you get it a lot in sci-fi and stuff in terms of storylines and stuff. But like, I think the isn't it kind of good that divination is so imprecise? Like, you know, the idea of being able to tell the future, because it's like in Star Trek and stuff where they go, hey, you can actually tell exactly what's going to happen in the future. That kind of ruins your life, really, because you kind of, you know, because that would be horrible. It'd be horrible to be able to accurately go, oh, in 3 weeks this will happen, or 2 weeks this will happen, or this will happen down the line, kind of thing. Like, you know, so I get a bit scared by the idea of if tarot and stuff was like genuinely accurate rather than just giving you a vague, like, because one of the experiences my mum's friend had, and that's how you can tell that it's might be nonsense. My mum's friend had it where she went to go and see a fortune teller, and the fortune teller like looked at her and then refused to give her a reading, kind of thing. And then it was like the next day she got hit by a car, and you're just going like, yeah. And it's one of those weird things, and you're like, are they related? Is it just coincidence? But it's this idea of like, I can't imagine a fortune teller being like, no, I won't take your money.
No,
like, you know.
I have heard that if a medium can't read you, it's not because there's nothing there to read. It's because you can do it yourself.
Oh, really?
That's what I've heard. My one of my old managers at where I work, after she lost her parents, she used to go and see a medium quite a lot, and probably just more out of comfort than anything else. And they used to have to go in groups, and one of the girls was told, she was like, I can't read you. And this girl got incredibly upset, thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm going to drop down dead tomorrow. And the medium had to pull her to one side and said, no, I can't read you because you can actually do all this yourself. You know the answers. There's nothing I can tell you that you don't already know. And it was that's what I heard anyway.
But is that
but say just be like, well, if I give you a tenner, will you save me the time?
Yeah, like I'm really lazy. Take my money.
But isn't it like deja vu? Is like it's an element of it as well? Because I know, like, is it that type of feeling you get? Is it a similar type of feeling, or is it completely not the same? Again, I'm just coming at this as someone that hasn't got a Scooby, to be honest. So is that the type of feeling you do get, Donna, or was it?
I get deja vu generally like a lot, but on them it's not. I can't look at somebody and think, oh, this is going to happen to them. It's just completely random. Like my dad blames me for Patrick Swayze's death because I said it the night before. And I'm like, and now, even
it's the Twin Towers, and now Patrick Swayze
died. It's completely random. Like, why Patrick Swayze? Why the Twin Towers? It's just crazy stuff. Like, it's nothing that I'm thinking about. It's just weird. Random
Any more coincidence, Donna?
Did you put Baby in the Corner?
I used to love that movie as well.
And you killed him.
So Beth, how are you going to follow that?
I kind of predicted the Queen's death.
Well, to be fair, that was easy. The BBC let us know before it happened as well.
We saw a picture of her and we were like,
No,
the only person who can save it now is Jim Henson's
the Jubilee.
Right.
I turned around to my mum and said she's going to die within the next 3 to 4 months, and she did.
I know, but they've been but hadn't they been weekend of burning us for like 6 months?
Watch this space, though. But I don't think Charles will have long on the throne.
Really? So hearing it first, hearing it here first. Predictions.
I think people are like going 5 years. They're kind of going like, let's not change the currency yet. Like,
let us have a king on there for
3 years.
3. Oh, okay.
Right.
We'll
Hold
sketch this down.
on. Are we going to take bets on this?
We'll sketch this down.
Hang
Oh
on.
my
so
god, a Deadpool.
You've done that thing where you, like, I've picked 5 and you gone, oh, I'm going to hedge my bets and go low and it's 1, 2, 3. I'm like, oh,
No,
bastard.
I've said 3 years to my mum.
3 years. Cool.
I am pissing my sides laughing at Goodwill. I heard Donna was in a tunnel in Paris in August 1997.
I was trying to keep a straight face.
Did you hear the previous comment where we were talking about the Twin Towers and it's Donna destroys 2 big erections full video?
And then Grant said that Donna doesn't seem like a Bush type of girl.
I saw the bush
And
one.
going back on the
Sorry.
deja vu thing, I believe in past lives.
Right, okay.
And sometimes deja vu happens because you've experienced it in a past life. And if you've got a fear of something, like say a fear of fire,
Yeah.
for no particular reason that you can't explain, it is said that you died of fire in a past life,
Yeah.
like in a burning building,
Mhm.
or you might have been a witch and got burned at the
Yeah.
stake.
Yeah.
That's what I truly believe in, and I think a lot of people have past lives and don't realise it.
Yeah.
I've always put deja vu down. It was a glitch in the Matrix.
That's an interesting one though about
I mean, I've had deja vu. Like, that's one of the things that I would definitely say happens where you kind of go like, you know, I've because the problem is the big problem with deja vu is you can't measure it, because when it happens, you just go, is this my brain just
Yeah.
thinking it experienced this before?
yeah.
But then the problem is you'd have to write down everything you ever thought or felt or experienced ever in order to then look back and be like, oh yeah, I have done that. And it's so difficult to test that you just go, oh bollocks. But we've all experienced, like, you know,
That glitch.
Yeah, but that again, the past lives one is like, just to quickly touch on that again. It's always an interesting one because I know there's a lot of beliefs out there about like reincarnation and moving and stuff like that. I always find that quite a sad way as well, because if you like, if you kind of going past through past lives, if you don't remember, it's kind of like a wasted journey.
But there's a lot of people say that if for no particular reason as well, you've got a passion for something. Like, for example, this is before I was a Kylie and Danny fan. I have always wanted to go to Australia, and I don't know why. And I truly believe that I died on one of the ships going to Australia.
All right.
And I never got the chance.
Were you a criminal? Were you?
No. I truly believe I was a young girl who died on the ship.
Right. I would love to go to Australia, but they've got giant spiders, so that's a no-go for me. Yeah.
Well, it was really
no
odd because
Bless you.
the podcast I've got, like the guest that we just had, when was it? On Wednesday, I think it was. The guest we had was Daya Betty from RuPaul's Drag Race season 14.
All right.
They're just about to embark on like a tour of Australia, and we were, and they're really excited because they're like, oh my god, I get to see koalas and I might get to see like kangaroos. I'm like, I don't think they're just littering the streets. I don't think it's just like, what are these fucking koalas everywhere? You know, like tribbles. But it's but then I know for a fact that the big spiders are everywhere.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
and I'm just going like, oh, that's kind of a horrible thing about Australia. But I think you get used to it though. Like, you know, it's like in the UK we have rats, whereas there's probably countries in the world that don't have rats.
As much.
You know, randomly
Rats
wandering around.
are everywhere.
Yeah.
Are they? Because I wonder if there's some countries where it's like, oh, nah, no rats here, you know.
I want to go to Cat Island in Hong Kong, where there's just an island made of cats.
Made of cats.
It's just
Like,
it's just a cats
Australia's
living
bad
in
cats.
Derby ever. It's just, this guy is like, okay,
No.
I have an idea. Do you want to use concrete? No.
We're gonna make it of cats.
And he's now banned from every pet shop in the Western world.
Well, if you went to Asia, you'd be fine, wouldn't you? Really? So, but yeah, I'm insulting every nationality tonight, so that's fine. But yes, so I know because Beth did mention that she did see orbs going around Donna's head. So, Donna, do you have any feelings about you tonight with it being Devil's Night? And the veil is becoming lifted. Has anyone got any?
That's tomorrow night,
Tomorrow.
where the
Too
veil
focused on
is.
the podcast.
I do
we
have
just have
more
to set the
stories.
city on fire.
Cool.
I have some more stories to tell you.
Cool. Come on.
Go on.
You don't have to wait a bit for us to prompt you. To say, I've got a story. Here it goes.
Well, I have a few from my old house, actually. I think that's probably the house I've experienced most supernatural stuff in.
Mhm.
So, like, because we were living in Tookie's granddad's house, my partner, we had to move out of there because it was too big when his granddad passed away. So we moved to a house, a 2-bedroom house. I had my daughter there, and I'll just set the scene. So I was sitting on the toilet.
As you do.
And then I hear a running and a laughter. And I open the bathroom door and I'm like, Alexis, what you doing up here? I thought you were downstairs with Dad. So quickly finish off, go into the bedroom. And because I've heard laughing in the bedroom, continue to walk in, nothing there. And I'm like, Alexis, where are you? You hiding, thinking she's hiding from us. And then I hear laughter and stuff coming from downstairs. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I get this like proper cold feeling over as a panic. I went down, I was like, did any of you go upstairs? And they're like, no, we've been down here the whole time. So this little girl that I saw running and laughing was not Alexis. And then I proper crashed myself. Like,
You might get back on that toilet.
there was a proper cold feeling come over us, like of realization. But there's been quite a few, and you were talking about anything where there'd been anything physical happen.
Mhm.
I've only ever experienced one thing with physical. So there was like quite a few months where I kept seeing, well, obviously what I believe is a ghost, which was quite a not a like nice looking ghost, like scraggly hair, like kind of like blooded up, the kind of stuff that people, you know, see in movies and whatnot. But this went on for months and months. And I was terrified, like properly terrified. And I had a 4-poster bed in that house with curtains on. And one night I kept seeing this ghost and I did not get any sleep at all. I nodded off for like 5 minutes and I woke up with the tie back of the bedpost like tied around my neck really tightly. And I probably shit myself, like, and I woke Tookie up, but he doesn't believe in anything like that. He's really skeptical, even though it wasn't long after that he admitted seeing a little boy following me around that house all the time, and it was only when I was there. But he said it's probably just his imagination, but he always saw a little boy following us, but he now doesn't believe that it was a ghost, just his imagination. So I did have quite a lot in that house. Another thing that happened, my dad had dropped us off at that house and he went to drive away, and I looked at him and I waved and I saw a vision of myself sitting in the passenger seat, and I was like, what the hell, I must be tired. And when I told my dad about it, he was like, that was probably your twin, because I was a triplet but the only survivor. So when I mentioned it to my dad, he was like, that was probably your twin Joanne. And he found that confident that she was probably in the car with him when he drove away. So I did have quite a lot of experiences in that house. So there's a couple of them.
I mean, I was going to make a joke about the fact of obviously your life of crime has started earlier, you know, so obviously you had 2 siblings that you've offed before you got round to Diana, the Twin Towers, and the Queen.
Patrick Swayze, yes.
Patrick Swayze, it was Beth who did the Queen, yeah.
Did the Queen in many ways, but yes.
That's crazy. That's like...
That is... I love the fact
I like that he can
comfort
just
from
ignore
that.
the boy. He just saw this boy and he was just like, must be my imagination.
It's not the only thing. He doesn't believe in it at all. Like, he believes my experiences. But he went out drinking one night with his friend Adam, and they got back home about 4:00 in the morning. It was like Leachmere Road where Asda is. They looked out the window and they saw a young Victorian boy looking back at them. Both of them saw it, right? And to this day, they say, oh, we must have just been drunk. And I'm like, so you're both drunk and both saw this boy and they still say it's not a ghost. And I'm like, at 4:00 in the morning, and he's like, maybe some kid was dressed up. And I'm like, so some kid was dressed up outside as looking up out your window at 4:00 in the morning.
What kid in the town is dressed up in a Victorian outfit?
Cosplayers. Especially at this weekend, you just go like these bastard Victorian cosplayers, all LARPers.
Yeah.
LARPers.
Well, obviously, with me living in Wall's End, I live near Segadunum.
What?
And Segadunum is the museum in Wall's End. And I don't know if Donna knows or hears about this, but people have actually seen and heard the Romans in the actual courtyard.
I've
of
heard.
Sega Dunham.
Yeah, I've heard the story because I've said the same round about. What was it, the fort in South Shields?
Yeah.
That there's supposed
Yes.
to be like steps from like marching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know when I lived down in Roker, because I used to live next to St. Peter's Church, like at Dame Dot, literally over the road. So we used to go, and then like again, there used to be lots of stories about Dame Dot and when it was like ransacked with the Vikings and stuff, and like all the things that went on there. That was that's probably the spookiest church I've ever been into. I don't know if anyone's like, we had to go in every school nativity play, we had to go to there, but it was one of the like what spookiest feelings I've ever gone in, especially when you go around the back and the tombs and stuff. But
it got to the point where people actually thought there was a reenactment because they could actually see these people, but it wasn't. There were actually Romans that were there.
Right.
And I've seen things at the museum as well.
But the only thing, again, this is probably where my skeptical brain comes into it. When anyone ever sees a ghost, or like say it is always like from a certain time, it's either Victorian or Roman, or like say an old war soldier or something like that, you don't get many where it's like an 80s kid or a 90s chav or anything like that. I know, again, I'm saying you don't really see like hear stories of like people like hearing like a young kid listening to Michael Jackson like beat it or something like that. But
how about we give it 30 years and then suddenly we have all these all these ghosts that are like, you know, just with crazy haircuts.
A lot of buildings are also put on other buildings, so that's where the energy is coming from, like graveyards.
Yeah.
And then obviously in America, you've got Native American burial sites where nobody knows where.
Yeah.
Where buildings have been put on.
Well, they've just been
buildings.
or they've just picked like what the horrible things. What they used to do was just basically dig up all the graves and just move them to middle of nowhere, and they used to build anything on it. But
I mean, can I just say though, I'm going to go off on one, I'm afraid, but it's I remember watching a fascinating film when I was younger, okay, and because it came on a DVD along with Ghostwatch, so it was basically like a dual box set thing ages ago, and it was obviously a fake, you know, it was a story, but basically it was called The Stone Tape, and it was about the idea that like places are haunted because the location remembers the actual things that went on there, but that it was something special about actual stone that does it. And therefore, and it kind of explained, you know, and it was used to explain why you don't get modern ghosts, because we don't use stone that much. So in the Roman days and stuff, it's the idea of, and it, you know, obviously there's more to it, but I thought it was such a fascinating concept, like the idea of we don't get ghosts now because what we build houses with and the locations that we dwell in were either not there long enough, or these different materials don't resonate the same way as they did in the past. But I don't know, but I personally think that it's more that people see what they expect to see. So if they're at a Roman fort, then they're going to tune in to the idea of seeing Romans.
Yeah,
you know, like
exactly.
Castle, they're going to expect to see Elizabethans. You know, even though someone from the 80s, like listening to Tears for Fears, was probably there and died.
But no, that like I said, is always an interesting like aspect as well. But going back to because both Beth mentioned about the like in America and stuff, I think it would be amiss to not have a ghost story podcast and not talk about the amazing movie that was Poltergeist as well. It is one of probably my favorite ghost stories. But some of the stories that come out from that movie, like I know, like say I don't know what's bullshit, what's not, that actually used real skeletons and stuff as part of aspects. So the actual set was supposed to be either cursed or haunted as well. So there's loads of myths.
I'd never heard any of that. Because you hear about the Omen and stuff, and you hear about the Omen being cursed and whatnot, but I'd never heard of anything for Poltergeist.
So the Poltergeist one is obviously the deaths of Heather O'Rourke, Dominique Dunne, and they use the gentleman from the second one who freaked people out. He died shortly after that, but he was very poorly. But Dominique Dunne and Heather O'Rourke, they died on, like Heather O'Rourke was poorly, misdiagnosed, but Dominique Dunne was murdered. These skulls were real. Spielberg wanted realism, so he got them realist skulls.
Yeah.
There's just the whole Poltergeist movie series is heavily shadowed in
controversy and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've only just recently, because I didn't realize how much of a fan I was of The Omen until I recounted how many times I've actually seen it, and I was like, oh, I am a fan of The Omen. Like, I do find this like one of my favorite films, but I didn't know there was like stuff around that.
Yeah, well, The Omen was heavily
there's loads of stuff. Everyone who was in The Omen is like messed up. Like, loads of crew people died. Loads of things went horribly wrong on set, like injuries and stuff. It's like, there's a whole YouTube hole you can go down. But the Poltergeist I hadn't heard about. But I love the idea that Spielberg's like, you know what, we need real dead bodies, and everyone's just like. It's very good that health and safety hasn't been invented yet, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, he wanted realism. He got it. And the actress who played the mother did not know about it until she smelled them.
Oh.
And she went, that's not fake. That is not fake.
So is that how Spielberg got real dinosaurs in Jurassic Park? Because he wanted real...
He wanted real, Paul, so he went out and got
the dinosaurs.
If Spielberg wants it, he will get it.
Oh, that's why Harrison Ford keeps coming back as Indiana Jones, even though he's basically a skeleton at these days.
His acting career is supported by necromancy.
100%. That man has been praying to somebody.
But again, I'm trying not to laugh there. Is there, because like I say, there's not really that many places I would say in the northeast that they would say legendary for like haunted areas or spooky things as well. I know, like say, they always say like London or York or Edinburgh, like say the vaults and everything. I did a tour once in Dublin when we went over. We done a ghost bus tour, and again, you don't know what half the stuff they tell you is bullshit or half is true. But one of the stories I liked, they took you to this old club. And said it was a hellfire club, and it says like there was actual rituals and sacrifices that went there. No, not it wasn't the X-Files. Don't worry, X-Men. Sorry,
Stranger. I thought like
Stranger Things. But no, basically where blood sacrifice and stuff. But it's interesting like how these old cities and stuff still have these big like say legends and stuff that's going. I know one of the ones when we went to Dublin, they were talking about Oscar Wilde's ghost still being hanging around, and like where he used to like to sit, and some people could even feel his presence at times and stuff. But
even though he's buried in like Père Lachaise in like France, I think.
But
I pronounced that wrong.
Spirits can travel.
Spirit Ubers.
That's exactly.
Rent a ghost type thing.
I do love the
not
stories.
rent a ghost. We're not bringing that into it. Sorry.
I do love the stories of the Tower of London and all the hauntings that go on there. It's honestly what I've been to London twice in my life, and not have I done what I would love to. I was a huge history nerd when I was a kid. Tudor and Stuarts were like my thing, so I was like, I really want to go and do the Tower of London, and I want to be in the presence of Anne Boleyn. That's what I want. It's not that far away. I'm like, I need my dreams need to be bigger.
I mean, I always love ghost tours. Like, it's a sort of thing, like, obviously I'm not very receptive to, well, I am kind of receptive to probably what are spirits or stuff, like the stuff that Donna and Beth are kind of like, you know, naturally, instinctively sort of, you know, attuned to. But it's like, I remember every time I go to Edinburgh, I'll always try, because my brother lives in Edinburgh, and every time I go there, I try and go on one of the ghost tours, because I love, you know, the undercity of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
It has all of the
Yes.
tunnels
I
and
learned
stuff.
all about that when
Any
I was there.
excuse to get under there, like, you know, to get in there, because it's fascinating. And it was really weird, like, because there's several tours where basically we'd go to like particular bits, and then I'd find myself instinctively just looking at a random corner of the room and like not knowing why I'm doing it, not feeling anything, but just literally just being like, and you know, and all the time, and obviously I'm just kind of, whoa, if I had the perception that some people do, there's probably something happening there, but instead you've just got this little niggle. But my sister-in-law had she worked on the ghost tours. You know how when you go on a ghost tour, they have the person who leads you round. And they alternate. So they have the person who leads you around and they tell you all the history and stuff. And then you have the other person who dresses like a ghost and jumps out at you at some point. Like it kind of tends to happen. And when they alternate, she had to be the ghost. So she had to be in the dark because you can't let people see you, like in a costume, in an incredibly purportedly haunted place. And you're like, that is kind of messed up. Like, so they're in this tunnel that's really haunted, just being like, oh well, just wait here and then I'll jump out at a point, and they were saying, like, that there was crazy, this was years ago, but they were saying that, you got weird vibes and stuff. And they said that down there was actually a locked door in it's that famous one. It's got a pub on top of it. Like, you basically go on the tour.
Is it Mary? Is it Mary Close? Yeah.
And they said that there was a locked door down there that you couldn't open, but then people from the university would come and you'd unlock it and they'd go in with stuff and whatnot. And it was this weird thing of just going, so there must be something going on there if they actually have people from the university going in. I remember her telling me that like years ago, and it's staying with me. But yeah, but it must be really scary to be in that place, which is haunted as hell.
I think with the
end, you having to go and spook other people.
Yeah.
On top of it, I learned a lot when I was in Edinburgh. The graveyard, which was the one that heavily inspired the Harry Potter names, and the history behind that graveyard alone is probably more spectacular than
is that the one with the dog?
Yes,
Greyfriars Bobby.
Greyfriars Bobby.
Yeah, that I had no
broke
idea
my
about.
heart.
Now I can't not get away from this dog. Yeah, but the graveyard itself was once just a hole. And in the plague, they just dumped people in there. Mary Queen of Scots used to use it as a dumping ground. So not only have you got the buried with the graves stones on there, you also have the descendants of all these people from the plague or anyone who else who pissed off Mary Queen of Scots. They are in the cement and in the foundations of this cemetery. It is honestly, if you get a chance to go, it is spectacular, not just because of the Harry Potter element to it. It is just an absolute spectacular place. Me and Carolyn spent a lot of time there, and I was in my element. I loved every second of it.
I think
they put a lot of people who passed away of the plague in the tunnels as well, actually.
I think loads of people died down there. Yeah. Like, it was the idea of, because I'm sure there was something like where they literally just sealed it up and like let people just die, like they entombed people in it and stuff, like, and I'm pretty sure there was bits where there was a fire, and I don't know how, because obviously if there's not enough oxygen, it's not going to last very long, but I assume the people inside won't last very long if there's no oxygen to keep the fire going. So
I think I think
a lot of death.
I think like when I did the tour, the creepy pit I went to is where the one with all the dolls, where the part where it's in the underground where there's supposed to be a ghost of a little kid. So anyone that visits, they leave a doll. So there's just a pile now of like normally up to here off the floor of Barbies, dolls and stuff.
I think that's a bad influence, because then we're going to get spoiled ghost children.
Yeah, wondering where their dolls are.
Yeah, they're just going to be like, they're never going to be happy with the amount of Christmas presents they get, because they've got all of these dolls from everyone.
Yeah, but that's
greedy ghosts.
That's the thing, though.
Greedy ghosts.
Because when you think about it, like, I would be an absolute shit ghost, because I can't be arsed. I'm grumpy as fuck and I hate people, so I just wouldn't want to be seen or known. I would just
not coming back.
I would just be in the corner going, just don't like
the dogs.
Aye, Beth will just be with the dogs. Donna would be just watching everyone fuck. So
if anyone's watching the YouTube feed and saw that Donna brought her adorable doggy on earlier, have you still got him with you?
He's next to the door. Bear, come here.
He's absolutely beautiful.
What about my dog?
I said your dogs were pretty when they came on.
We've remarked at how pretty your dog is.
Oh, it's not dog walk. Come on, guys.
Are we going to have a dog off?
Dog
is that
off.
What this is?
We're not going dogging live on the Nerdy Up North podcast. Let's just
live dogging.
Just live if someone comes on now and listens to that.
Halloween special, like say car park in South Shields.
To be fair though, this is me maybe being naive, but I didn't realize that you didn't actually have to have a dog for dogging. I assumed it was. Because I was like, what does the dog do? Is it just watching? It's just maybe if you get a voyeur dog, but yeah, apparently it doesn't work out that at
You've
all.
been contemplating this. There.
Oh.
When
looks
I
like
was
a rat.
younger, I told my nana who had a dog that people who took the dogs on a walk, it was called dogging. So she kept telling all her elderly friends that it was called dogging. I never told her the truth.
Donna, not only did you kill Patrick Swayze, you're telling your grandmother that kind of stuff.
This
None of that
life
Patrick
crime.
Swayze one's going to stay with me
Betty,
for a
I'm
long
going dogging.
time.
Do you want to come with us?
Just popping off to do some dogging and maybe to the shop.
I think that would be a good place to leave the podcast for this evening.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap everything up. That was so much
I do
fun.
have one more story.
Okay,
go
cool.
on, Donna.
Cool.
I want you to try and see, explain it in your scientific terms and stuff, right?
All right.
So,
Is it a haunted dildo? Is it?
no, Grant will know about that. So back to my mum again, has this sleep disorder where she kind of acts out her dreams. So she decided she set up a camera in her room, a night camera. One day she sent us this video a few months back. So on the video, she's up and moving around panicked, and then you hear a cry. And then, because she's in bed by herself, on the other side of the bed, you see the blanket move, and then you see two baby arms pop up from the blanket, and it's very creepy. And with her permission, I can show you guys the video. But yeah, you hear a cry, and then you see the baby arms pop up from the blanket, and she was alone in her room.
I've just gone really cold.
So now I want to
Yeah.
hear what you would kind of say that was in a.
I'd have to see the video, but I can't really explain it from that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
A gremlin.
It's the sort of thing. Could it be something? How what's the lighting like in the video? Is it dark?
It's
Could
the
it be-
night vision.
Did anyone piss on it to see if it was Gizmo?
I knew that was coming.
Actually, hang on. If we're done with gremlins, what would happen if you pissed on a gizmo?
Yes, that is the ultimate question. We don't know.
That's the ultimate question, Graham.
What if the gizmo pisses itself?
Yes,
Are the gremlins different? Are they yellow? Can you control the color of gremlins?
because that's the question we
based
asked
upon-
before. Is basically with gremlins, and because it said they multiply with water. So what type of water? Because Spike spits on Gizmo,
Yeah.
and he doesn't
holy
turn into
water.
Yeah.
Holy water, that might make holy gremlins.
Yeah.
And then you have it's like Pokemon. It's giving an Eevee a moonstone or a firestone or but no, I can't explain what
No,
Donna's
Donna,
saying,
I would
but I'd
love
love
to see the video, but I felt very cold as you were telling that story. That I don't like that.
Post it in a group. We'll get a poll going.
Had all sorts of creepy stuff. She said there was one time there was this short guy trying to get into bed with getting undressed and having a hand go up the bed and stuff, and I'm like,
Fuck that! No, I would be
this is
moving.
what
I would not be
Yeah,
staying in that house.
I'm used to it in my
Follow the
house with weird things happening.
Oh dear.
But that's it. Does it become normal, Beth? Does it become
Yeah.
you just oh well, it's another ghost, typical,
It's just banana.
Well, I think the Queen's coming after you now. After you killed her.
Yeah, no, that's what you just said.
The Queen's got enough enemies. She's going for swans.
I'm getting Patrick Swayze.
She's gonna haunt every swan. Just snap its neck and
to be fair,
feast
though,
on the guts.
Donna's going to be sitting there one night and just take the songs on a con. Oh, my love, my darling, I hunger for your touch. Aye. It's called Demi Moore and shit.
You killed Swayze.
You fucking bitch.
I think that's a lovely place to end tonight. Donna killed Swayze.
There we go.
Yeah, I nearly accidentally killed off Derek Okora. Funny enough, who was it that died? And I thought it was Derek Okora. Somebody,
You're responsible for 9/11.
somebody passed.
You heard it here. Donna's responsible for 9/11. There we
Some
go.
celebrity, and I can't remember who it was, and I thought it was Derek Okora, right? And then it wasn't. And my dad came in and he was like, "Oh, have you heard Derek Okora died?" And I was like, "I told you it was Derek Okora took you." And my dad was like, "No, I'm just winding you up. He already told us." And I was like, "Fuck's sake, you cook."
Bless you. But yes.
It's so funny.
So Donna is the killer of celebrities. So
Oh, Donna, you've surprised me tonight.
But yes. So next time we're going to do a live reading with Donna's mum. See if I'm gonna. But yes. So thank you guys for everyone who's tuning in. Thank you for everyone in the chat for sticking with us. You've been it looks like you've been entertaining yourselves. Next week's episode, I think Graham is returning as well. So coming back.
Are you back, Graham? Are you back?
Am I?
I believe
Okay,
so.
Well, I am.
I think because we're doing horror computer games.
Oh,
I
yes.
thought it was this one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you said basically sort of like, oh, we'll get you on the podcast at like, the end of October. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I was like, oh, I thought it was this one. But yes, I'll come back.
No, because I think Sonia's joining us as well. So there's going to be a few of us involved talking about
the Phasmophobia crew back again.
Yes.
I love that game.
I don't.
That's funny.
Yes, I could do that.
Okay, it's scary now. But yes, does anyone else want anything to want to see or leave off with, or we're leaving it off with Swayze?
Could I just plug the podcast I was mentioning earlier? I'm on a podcast which is called the Girl Podcast, which is an LGBT plus podcast. And we have a lot of drag race people on, like a lot of drag race contestants on and stuff. We discuss loads of LGBT issues and stuff like that. So if you're one of them queers or just curious or just interested, I think, give that a go. I think it's girlpodcast.com, I think it is.
Cool.
But also you can listen on Spotify, GURL.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I do apologise. You did say you had your brother's poem, so if you want to finish us off with your brother's poem,
Yes,
Yeah,
there you
let's
go.
do
That's
that.
what can end us tonight. Shall we just get our housekeeping out the way with, and then we can end with Graham's brother's poem?
So
just out.
go for it, Sam.
I was just going to say, please come and join us on Instagram, Facebook. I don't even know if you keep Twitter open anymore. Twitch. We are on Twitch. We've got Charlotte's Book Club. # Charlotte's Feet. # Tall Paul. # anything else I can think of.
Pants.
And Sam's got pants on tonight.
Sam has trousers on because it's absolutely freezing. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the chat. It has been great, and we'll see you all next week. Come on then, Graham, take us out with your brother's poem.
Right, okay. This is my brother's getting a nice bit of success with his horror writing and stuff at the minute, and he wrote this poem for Halloween, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So yes, this is by Andrew Donaldson, and it is called Underneath. A new home, a fresh start. IKEA ordered a broken heart. October blooms, a chill in your bones, an awful new chapter that you'll face alone. For the terror arises when the lights get switched out, when your head full of ghosts meet your head full of doubts. It's in bed when your prayers mix with those from past renters, absorbed by the mattress, your nightmare tormentor. The mattress is old, it's been here for years, plagued every last owner, your sleep saboteur. It's doomed all of their hopes, it's replayed their mistakes, fears soaked into the fabric like a rotten sponge cake, formed something organic from all of this fear. A new kind of horror made out of old tears. It feels its new owner. It feeds off your dread. A creature has formed that's always been from all that's been bled. You feel something poke you through the soft bedding sheet. Tell yourself they're just springs to quell your heartbeat. But there's no coils here. The mattress is foam. The fingers that touch you are dead flesh and bone. It tears through the bed and it claws through your flesh. It eviscerates your organs and whatever's left. You're pulled deep below and you can't catch your breath. You meet your own monster and welcome your death.
Well done. Wow, that was amazing.
How amazing is that?
That was brilliant. What's your
Yes.
I
brother's
got
name?
chills.
That's it. I think he has a website. I think it's unsafespaces.com.
Oh wow,
think-
please go on. What's your
I think
brother's
he's
name?
got a LinkedIn or whatnot, but no, it's not. Okay, well, I'll work it out. I'll work out what it is, but basically, yeah.
Wow.
We'll send us the link over. We'll put it on the end, like in the comments on the podcast as well. So I'll put it in the description. But yes,
Oh yeah, it's unsafespaces.co.uk.
great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
and just adding a little bit of class to the podcast there. So thank you for that. But yes, same bat time, same bat channel, guys.
Stay nerdy, everyone.
Bye.
Hey.